Ready? All right, let's do it. Okay. Um, Welcome. I call this meeting to order. Okay. Okay. I call this planning commission. What's that? Okay.
That your computer?
One of the microphones picking it up and feeding it back in.
Okay. Planning commission meeting, February 1st, 2024. Happy New Year. I call this meeting to order. Paula, may we please have the roll call?
Patty Case,
Here.
Cody Cornett,
Here.
John Grant is absent, Philip Mosher is absent, Maria Pena. Mark Popoff,
Here,
Nick Portella.
Here. Excellent. And if you are joining Zoom, if you don't mind, please have your video camera on. Pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next is the approval of the agenda. If all those present have read over the agenda, may I please have a motion to approve it?
I motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that. A motion has been made to approve the agenda and seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand, say aye.
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 Unanimous. I did. Next is the approval of the minutes from the November 16th meeting, 2023. May I please have a motion to approve those if all have been reviewed, and a second?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I'll second that motion to approve the minutes from the November 16th meeting. All in favor, raise your right hand, say aye.
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 Excellent. Next is the time for public comment. During this portion of the meeting, anyone may speak on any topic or subject not later appearing in the agenda. Is there any person of the public that would care to make a public comment? Sure, come on up. When you do, please state your name and mailing address for the record, and then have at it. Oh, you can sit right there.
What?
Your name and address for the record, and then go on.
My name is Don Lewis, and I live at 3020.
Mr. Lewis, you're gonna need to.
Oh,
Thanks.
me now. Don Lewis, I live at 3021 West 7th.
Okay.
Which is the corner of 7th and Pomona.
Okay.
And I've lived there since 1948. And the farm got smaller and smaller. And about 30 years ago, maybe 35 years ago, I sold some property to Wasco Electric.
Okay.
And a few months ago, they wanted to expand. I told them no problem. And they said I had an easement between Chenoweth Water and Wasco Electric that would have to be improved, the sidewalk and curb
Who said that?
planning.
Okay.
And Wasco Electric said, we'll pay for it, no problem. And it's just an easement, a gravel driveway onto Pomona Street. But then after they got it surveyed, they decided one of my driveways on 7th Street didn't have the right taper, and that I would have to either pick the driveway out or put in a sidewalk.
Okay.
But I well, not sure.
Yeah, sure.
I got this letter saying I needed to, they were going to improve it. Then the next month they give me this $600 to pay for the curb.
Okay.
And put in the sidewalk in good faith. And now they tell me they've changed the taper.
Okay.
Sidewalk has been in use. Been in use for 45 years. And they said, well, possibly a wheelchair could tip over on it. But I think they're just wasting the people's money.
Okay, got it. So you have an affected property from a meeting that we had probably back in October. Is that right?
I
Okay,
think I remember it.
okay. Do you have any comment on this or any insight on this? Wait, hang on a second.
Oh.
Quick question. Have you followed up with the planning department directly on this matter?
They told me I had two options,
Okay,
replace the sidewalk or take out the curb. And I said, I'm going option 3, tell Wasco Electric it's not for sale.
okay,
And after talking to people and they said, well, it's everybody that walks over, it says, it looks good to me. Looks like every other driveway. And well, and I put up a fence. I'll admit that it looks like it's not used, but I've got a garage there with an old car in it. And
okay.
out in that area, you have to put up a fence. The gate got beat up so many times that I just put the fence across there.
Sure.
And planning, since I've lived there, now I have 3 pot shops within walking distance of my house. The other way, I have a porn shop. Now they're putting up a soup kitchen, 800 feet down the street from me.
By the movie theater you're talking about? Okay.
My neighborhood has gone to hell. And is all they're worried about is that driveway that has been used forever. Well, since 78, 45 years,
So what can we do for you?
let the driveway be.
Okay. At this point, is there, if Wasco Co-op isn't,
They said they would pay for it, but I think you're wasting the people's money.
okay. Is there anything that we can necessarily do or say about this?
The improvements were a condition of approval with commercial replat.
Yep.
And
remember this.
The driveway needed to come into conformance either with current ADA standards or put in sidewalk panels if they no longer were interested in using that drive approach.
Okay. I do remember this. Is that if you're not selling to Wasco Co-op anymore and it's not happening,
Not now,
then
not
it's
if
not happening, right?
he gave me that option.
Mhm.
He said, I only have 2 options. I told him I had 3 options. Tell him it's not for sale, but after
Who's the he you're talking about? When you say,
Josh Chandler.
okay. Yeah, the planning director.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think at this point, I mean, there's nothing that the planning commission can necessarily do about this. That is the code that it would have to be improved. You know, it's the same thing where, you know, if you know, let's say there's a street that isn't wide enough, but it was in 1948 or 1970. And now there's more houses being built, some type of development is happening, that street would have to be widened to accommodate whatever that development is. I know that this is nuanced and seems maybe silly, but the code has to apply unanimously, not unanimously, ubiquitously in all circumstances. And that's why the code's the code. It's not a pick and choose thing.
Okay, it says it seems like I'm not using this driveway, but I've been home for the last 10 years, retired. I've been there. Nobody come by and asked me if what seems to be, and I've had the same phone number for the last 40 years. Nobody called and asked me what seems to be, but it says here, West 7th is especially vital for an effective pedestrian network since it is identified by the SRTS plan and the Dalles TSP as needing pedestrian improvements in order to increase safety for the pupils traveling to the nearby Chenoweth Elementary School.
Mhm.
Where do those children live?
somewhere on Seventh or within Seventh. That's more of a let's just say category that I can't necessarily speak to because I don't have all the information right here. But-
There's
But at some point, the city
children down the street.
determined that that was that special class of street, and there's nothing we're going to do or say about it at this point.
There's no children walking to school.
But people have children later, so there may be children there
Where they
later.
live.
These, I don't, we appreciate the comment. I don't think these, we're kind of going down a rabbit hole here.
The residences between 7th and 10th, and I think there's a trailer park about
Yeah.
2 or 3 blocks up from you.
There's apartments
Yeah.
on
And they're gonna
Snipes.
cut clear down to Juanita's, buy cigarettes and then go to school. There's nothing all clear into town. There's the car dealerships and there's no residents.
So, what exactly do you want here?
I want to know what children are walking to school down that sidewalk.
Okay, I don't think we can answer that right now.
Okay.
But we certainly note the question.
And so I'm going to have to do something with the sidewalk
I can't
if I
answer.
want to sell property.
Well, I would just make whoever's buying it do something with it. To answer your question immediately, if someone's buying it, they can pay for it.
May I comment on that?
Yeah, sure.
The sale of a property does not trigger any improvements with development.
Thank you.
The
Yes.
moving of a property line in this case triggered improvements with development.
They're not buying that property. This is another driveway on the other side of my place.
Okay. But at this point, there's nothing's happening, so no one's forcing you to.
No, but I wanted to know why are you wasting money? It's just because you can, I guess. I pay the taxes and you tell me what I can do.
Yeah, I don't understand what the connection is.
Well, I pay the property taxes. Last year it was right at $10,000.
Yeah.
And if I want to sell a part of it, I have to waste the money doing a driveway that's not even related to that property. This is another piece of property.
Yeah, I don't have all the information that you have in front of me, like where the plat is, where the driveway is, so I can't necessarily speak to this right now. But it sounds like since nothing is happening with either property, no one is making you change anything right now.
Right. And also I see in the meeting, last October, it said that the motel was in negotiation with me to buy my property. They brought me a contract to say that whatever I wanted to do, they had first option to buy. Forget that.
Yeah,
I thought I threw it away, but I found it. But why would I sign something like that?
I don't know.
They're not in negotiation. I told them to pound sand. Why,
Yeah, that was just something that individual or representative of that business just submitted for evidence. So, or
no, not dealing with the motel as far as negotiating or anything. It sounded like they wanted to flim-flam me well,
got it.
okay.
If this ever, comes up again, if Wasco Co-op is, talking about buying your property or whatever, and they come here to have another public hearing about whatever the process, about whatever part of the process, the sidewalk, the driveway, whatever it is, I would encourage you to come to that meeting. So that way a lot of the questions could be answered more immediately.
Another thing, I got an invite to the original meeting, but for some reason they sent it to Barry Springer at Mama Jane's.
Oh, that's not you.
No,
Great place for
but I drink
pancakes.
a lot of coffee there, but he next week when I come in, he give that to me. And what's this all about? He tore it open. He thought it was approval of his sign, and no, it was for me to go to this meeting.
Huh.
I don't know.
Somebody just got the envelopes mixed up.
Yeah, that could be a mailing error. Our mail people are very busy. Okay. Well, thank you for the comment. And yeah, we'll just keep that in mind. We'll just kind of see how
And-
things go with that.
We'll see. I apologize.
Sorry is needed.
I got beat up and I'm a little slow thinking and moving.
That's okay, man.
Okay, on with the meeting.
Okay. Thanks for coming in and thank you.
Okay.
Okay, man. All right. That was our only member of the public and we appreciate that. But now it's time for a discussion item. 23-24 long range planning summary. Let's discuss.
I have a slides here. I'll just go ahead and share my screen quickly. Just a moment. All right. So today we're discussing some long range planning summary. We're going to talk about things that we have done during the 2023 year and then upcoming exciting code changes. So just to give a little bit of background, the City of the Dallas Planning Commission does play a key role in our long range planning decisions. So the city ensures that the Dallas Municipal Code is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and it really does contribute to the organized development of the community. So both the code and the comprehensive plan are living documents that get updated periodically, and that's an important part. So we are reflecting current development trends in our community and also broader statewide laws, making sure that we are in constant compliance. So for those various reasons, and sometimes even community input, which is why we went through some of those RV park regulations updates. So the objective of this meeting is to talk about a selection of the code amendments and planning project that staff anticipates to commence in 2024, as well as get your take on possible considerations for future code amendments. And sit tight, you guys. There's going to be an activity at the end.
Okay.
So, taking a look at our comprehensive plan amendment. So, comprehensive plan amendment 5523 was adopting the housing needs analysis and the buildable housing needs analysis update. We've just finished that process. It was adopted by City Council. The comprehensive plan amendment 5422 was revising the prescribed residential density ranges in the Dallas comprehensive plan. So this comprehensive plan amendment actually took out those prescribed density ranges in the comp plan and just had them in our municipal code. So our zoning ordinance amendments that occurred this year was the recreational vehicle parks. This was actually adopted by City Council in 2024, but the Planning Commission worked really hard on this and got these amendments passed in 23. We also did a code cleanup. This really touched on a variety of sections of the municipal code, from maintaining consistent terminology, updating for clear and objective housing standards, and some review procedures for consistency with state law. The last or the first zoning ordinance amendment was to update those residential density ranges for residential zones within the Dallas Municipal Code. So looking ahead. So we have some high priority amendments. These include flood control provisions. So in spring 2024, Wasco County is going to adopt updated FEMA floodplain maps, and FEMA stands for the Federal Emergency Management Agency. So upon adoption of these maps, the City of the Dalles would be required to adopt new floodplain standards to be consistent with these new maps, as well as new state and federal standards. So these amendments are scheduled for implementation in 2024. The exact season is, well, after spring, but we'll have it all teed up.
Do you have preliminary Copies of that preliminary floodplain map?
Yes, and the preliminary floodplain map is available on the City of the Dalles website.
Okay.
And we also did a joint event with FEMA for property owners that are affected by this new floodplain map, because there are a selection of properties that are included in the floodplain, and there are a selection of properties that are outside of the floodplain, namely the Lone Pine development. A lot of those properties were taken out of the floodplain with the new floodplain maps.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
The floodplain maps, do they show the depth of what was it, 100-year flood or whatever they're going by?
Yeah, so they have different what we'd call layers on the map that show what the 100-year floodplain is and other like stream corridors and things like that. So it does show a selection of different floodplain layers. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Popoff?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
If it's only, 6 or 8 feet deep, one thing they could do is just, require that houses be built with the main floor above that.
Yeah. So a couple of things that kick in with these new floodplain maps is that some houses would need to be built with those floodplain standards in mind. So some of those are including floodway vents in the basement, allowing floodwaters to move through a house without taking it off its foundation. And some of it is making sure that the first habitable floor is a foot above the floodplain. So selection. Yeah. Another high priority amendment is land division standards. So this would be a really comprehensive review of our municipal code for consistency with state law. So it hasn't been updated in a long time. There are some inconsistencies, especially with terminology in our land division standards, and we need to make sure that those regulations are just spot on with state law. This will give the commission some opportunity, though, to really look at, some standards, maybe even extending more than state law. So there's opportunity to think creatively about these upcoming zone amendments. But we're getting started with red lines with that now, but it will require some community outreach. And so we're thinking that those amendments will commence around spring, summer 2024. Biggie, sign code. So this would be a comprehensive review of the sign code. The sign code is complex. It hasn't been touched for a long time. We've heard a recent appeal for a billboard, and that really sparked the need to review our sign code in its entirety to ensure that it's consistent and clear for all parties involved.
Are you doing community outreach?
Community outreach
thing
will be
with that?
imperative
Okay.
with the sign code amendments. In the staff report, it does mention how it will require multiple focus groups and discussions. So we may just be doing groundwork within 2024 in order to get it implemented. Another is parking standards. So the City of the Dalles is doing the Dalles Downtown Parking Assessment. This is anticipated to commence in the winter/spring of 2024. This parking study may result in code amendments. So that's something to look forward to here shortly. It's always great when we have live data about our local city in order to make these code amendments. So that's going to be pretty exciting coming up. So high priority planning projects. Now, this is not necessarily limited to code amendments. However, some of these planning projects could trigger code amendments in the future. But first step is some of these larger planning projects. So one of this is the West Side Area Study Master Plan. So staff is going to apply for a transportation and growth management grant with the Oregon Department of Transportation and the Department of Land Conservation and Development, so DLCD, for the creation of an integrated land use and transportation master plan for the west side of the Dalles. Also,
Sorry,
Mhm.
quick. What's the timeline on this West Side Area Study Master Plan? When do you anticipate will be?
So I don't have a specific date for this one, but we have not been awarded the grant yet. And so I think we're holding on putting together a scope until we know that we have the awarded grant
Got it.
amount.
Okay.
The housing production strategy, we've talked a little bit about this before. We laid the groundwork with the housing needs analysis. The housing production strategy will focus on specific strategies that the Dallas can target in order to maintain and build their housing stock. We are awarded a technical assistance grant with DLCD to do this work. And we are going to be partnering with Cascadia Partners for this work. This will require multiple discussions with a project management team, advisory committees, planning commission, and the city council over an 8 to 12 month period. And we have been already awarded that grant. All right. So this is for commission considerations. Now, this isn't necessarily a static list. This is an ongoing list. So planners, over the time, we exercise code review all the time when we look at different land use applications. And as we do these code reviews, a lot of questions come up sometimes when we're looking at the code and how can we make this better? How can we make this clearer for all parties involved? So we have a running list, and these are some of the things that were highlighted on this list. So permit procedures is a broad term for a couple of things. So we're looking, this includes the difference between a major and minor building permit, clearly defining that in our code, looking at the requirement for fence permits. They are free permits right now. Home business requirement permits, maybe taking that out of an administrative review process and more of a ministerial application. So people have a quicker review time to have a home business. And then taking a look at newspaper noticing requirements. So a broad kind of array of different permit procedures to look at. Housing standards. So this is, again, we're always looking at our housing standards to maintain clear and objective standards. This could be including container homes, energy efficient building practices, and more. And I'm open to hearing any suggestions of topics that you would like to highlight within the housing standards. Driveway and access standards. So this would be taking a look at our, private road standards, our driveway standards, specifically servicing standards, and just kind of design requirements. And being consistent with current ADA standards. Industrial development standards. So taking a look at design requirements in our industrial zone, as well as just kind of a comprehensive look on that zone to make sure we're covering nuisance considerations. Update our change of use application standards. So some of these standards are a little slim. And so making them more clear for folks who are reading the code and having a clearer permit process for that is the idea there. And then updating our ground floor retail updates in the commercial zone. So right now we don't have a standard of what the percentage of the commercial space for a ground floor in our commercial zones. Right now you are required in some commercial zones to have a ground floor commercial or retail space if you are developing housing in these zones. And so this would take a look at our requirements and see if there's any updates needed there. Also, crypto mining operation standards. So crypto mining does have implications on our local grid, our power grid. So taking a look at getting those standards into the code. But these are a couple of commission considerations. I told you I had a group activity and it looks like a graph. I know, it's exciting. So basically my idea here is everybody gets 3 votes. For different like updates that you would like the community development department to prioritize. And these are just like the additional considerations that are outside of the ones like the floodplain standards and parking standards and sign code, because those are the big ones that we really know we have to tackle. Also, you may notice there's a blank column or row over here. If you guys have something that you would like staff to really delve into, I'm happy to hear it and I'm happy to add it to the list. So I just want to open the floor up to y'all. As a reminder, you have 3 votes. This group activity list matches the different commission considerations in the staff report as well, if you can't see it on the slides. So are there any additional considerations that you think staff should be looking at?
Quick question. I'm
Mhm.
texting Maria real quick just to see if she can get here because the more votes we have, the better it is. You know, you at the plan department as staff put these up. What are the top 3 that you run into with the most frequency? Like over the past, let's just say year, it's just like, here we go again with whatever, permit procedures, like, or whatever. What do you think the top 3 are?
So the most common issues that come up is change of use application standards, housing standards, and it's a tie between driveway and permit procedures. I make things so difficult for myself. It's really hard to choose. I think the top 3 for me would be change of use, permit procedures, and housing standards. I'm going to go with that.
Okay, and housing standards involves tell me more about housing standards.
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. So basically, clear and objective housing standards. This would be considering container homes,
Hmm.
tiny homes, the difference between the two, manufactured home standards. This is taking a look at energy efficient building practices for housing standards. So it's a big one.
Would that include, do you think, various incentives for development, things like
could.
that?
It could. That's not identified as a code change.
I guess that would be more in the slide before this. We're talking about the other housing standards.
Like the housing production strategy.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you're looking at that.
So that's separate from that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So staff, you feel run into permit procedures, change of use, and housing standards?
Yeah. But they're all great options.
Right.
I don't want to tip the scales.
Yeah. Let me send this text.
And the crypto mining regulations, can that just be banned outright or?
It could be.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. There's no state statute requirement, to my knowledge, that we have to allow it in all zones.
That takes a lot of energy that could be used better for other industrial uses. You're not really creating any jobs to speak of.
Sorry, hang on. Nick or Addie, feel free to just chime in and vote or ask questions or whatever it is. You could just unmute yourself too if you feel like that would just be easier, more efficient.
I know for sure one of my votes is going to go for housing standards. I'm still considering the other ones.
Any additional considerations that you would like staff to take a look at that hasn't been mentioned tonight?
Still thinking.
Different P. As all have last P names.
Housing standards is one for me as well. I also Yeah, I'm torn. I feel like, can you tell me more about, the industrial development standards? I know you had mentioned it, but like an example, just to give me a better idea.
Yeah, so this would be taking a look at the industrial building design regulations. So they're I think we could push ourselves to write them in a more clear, concise manner and maybe capture a little bit more of what the commission wants to see be design standards for our industrial zone. And then as well address any nuisance concerns for industrial uses. So right now there's nuisance considerations for conditional use permits specifically. Typically uses that have nuisances occur in the industrial zone. And so incorporating the conditional use permit standards into the industrial zone could be a good option. Now, this is just, I'm talking in terms of may and could because things change. And as we get input from the community and you all and city council, things change all the time. So the door is definitely open for changing. This is just kind of some ideas.
I'm forwarding this. Hang on. I'm emailing Maria. I'm forwarding her the thing because another vote would be good. Just email you the link is.
I would also like to put a vote in for permit procedures, please.
All right, going back to industrial development standards. When you're talking about, we're kind of talking like purely aesthetics, right? Okay.
Pure aesthetics and nuisance considerations.
Okay.
This is kind of like an open brainstorming situation.
Sure. Tell me more about why driveway access standards is on this.
So some of the driveway access standards specifically for private roads it could be expanded to 25 feet to be consistent with fire life safety standards, as well as ensuring that the driveway approach standards meet our ADA requirements as well, because there's some inconsistencies in the code, as well as even broadly taking a comprehensive look at our driveway and access standards could be good. And it looks like Maria Pena is in the waiting. So taking a look at those more generally would be helpful when reviewing current development applications.
Okay. Maria, you here? No?
She looks like she's connecting to audio.
Okay, got it. Before I just talk again, I just kind of want, if you could just like fill her in on just what we're doing real quick. Okay, great. Hey, Maria.
Hello, Commissioner Pena.
Hi. Caitlin's going to fill you in just on what we're doing here real quick. And then, yeah, we'll continue on.
All right, so I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. So basically, we are doing a group activity during Planning Commission. It's so what we're looking at here is different considerations for our municipal code changes for the community development to take on. So a couple of these staff has brainstormed over years of just working with the code and identifying things that we think could be good candidates to be changed. So these different changes, including changes regarding permit procedures. So this could include the difference between major and minor building permits, fence permit requirements. Currently, they are free applications and required if they're 4 feet and taller. Home business permit requirements. Currently, there are administrative applications and require noticing of surrounding properties and ensuring our newspaper noticing requirements is consistent with state standards. Housing standards could include clear and objective, maintaining our requirements for housing being clear and objective, taking a look at container home regulations, energy efficient building practices, tiny homes, and manufactured dwelling requirements. Taking a look at our driveway and access standards to ensure that they are compliant with all current ADA standards, as well as just taking a comprehensive look at our driveway and access standards to make sure that we are being clear and consistent with our surfacing standards, as that can kind of get in the weeds pretty quickly with some applications. Taking a look at industrial development standards, this could be looking at building design regulations and nuisance considerations. Updating our change of use application standards. So this would be taking a look at our change of use, which is required when there is a current use or business changing into a different type of business. So a change of use would be required for a restaurant with seating inside changing to a retail shop in the downtown, for example. So just really making those standards crystal clear for everyone involved may make the permit procedure a little more smooth sailing. Looking at our ground floor retail requirements in the commercial zone. So currently we don't have a minimum requirement of commercial space for housing developments in our downtown. So currently it reads something like you are required to have a commercial space in a multifamily development downtown. So for example, if you're going to build a second story commercial development downtown, the first floor would need to be commercial and the second floor you could do your residential standards or your residential dwellings. So just making that a little clearer and doing like a temperature check on the community and with you guys to take a look at those standards. Should we have them? Should we update them? Things like that. And then taking a look at the crypto mining operating standards. So crypto mining is seen to be a kind of a stress on our local grid, our local power grid system. So taking a look at those operation standards. Currently the code is silent on crypto mining. And then you may notice that there is a blank space at the very end of this. This is space for you guys to brainstorm if there are additional standards that you think that the community development department should consider. And that's breakdown.
And each person gets 3 votes.
Oh yeah,
Sorry,
each person gets 3 votes.
Each person gets 3 votes.
That's the name of the game.
Okay, so going back to this is going to be my question prior. Driveway access standards. How often do you run into this, in the normal day and week, and where in the community are you, like where in the urban growth boundary are you seeing this be an issue?
So some of this is really with driveways that are connecting to local streets.
Okay.
And so it's really more on the roadway classification than maybe like a zone. But if you think about roadway classifications, typically local roadways are in the residential zones and things like that. So looking at surfacing standard requirements and spacing requirements with our driveway and access standards would be a good thing.
Okay, so just give me an example of a recent place in town, just so I can visualize the issue, if that's possible.
Okay. So actually I can use my own personal property as an example. I have a corner lot.
Okay.
And basically on a corner lot, now I want to pull up the code here. Just a second. This is kind of fun. Okay. So basically on a corner lot, you are required, if you're having 2 driveways on each property frontage, there is a minimum spacing requirement from your interior lot line, and your interior lot line is one that abuts another property. So
Yep.
not the lot line that abuts the right of way.
Right.
You can only build so far away. Well, some corner lots are really large.
Mhm.
And so some are very small, right? And so the corner lot driveway standards are the same throughout, no matter what size or how much street frontage you have. And see me click through here. This is some of our driveway spacing standards based on the speed. So this is an example of a residential minimum spacing standard. So corner lots, minimum 5 feet and a maximum of 10 feet from the interior property line. So it doesn't really give a lot of flexibility for larger lots. Or,
Okay.
yeah. Is
Okay, got it.
that down the rabbit hole or what? Okay. It's so quickly like that in code.
Well, I guess if I'd choose 3, probably housing standards, crypto mining, and I'd like to add street trees.
And just like a comprehensive look at street tree standards.
And encouraging them, but yeah, basically.
Can I ask a question, please?
Ask away.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me what's crypto mining?
Yeah, so
That's all.
crypto mining is a blockchain type of technology such as Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and others.
That is, and that's what I thought, but what does that have to do with planning commission? I guess
So it's just it's a use, right? So if you are a crypto mining operator, you could operate out of your house or an office downtown. It's just our code is completely silent on that use, and it is seen to have, there's literature out there suggesting that that is a large power draw on the local grid. So it'd be establishing standards for a use such as that.
got it.
We have also received community complaints about a crypto mining operation being noisy because there are cooling fans for these servers. I can also still add more rows.
I guess I would like to work on the housing standards. The ground floor retail updates, because I think that's one of the things probably coming our way.
Mhm.
And the crypto mining and the did I say housing standards?
Yes.
I think that's 3, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think for me, I will do ground floor retail updates of commercial zones as well. Permit procedures. And I really wish we had 4. And then also probably update change of use application standards. The reason I'm picking these is just because, like Commissioner Pena said, there's going to be things come up in the commercial zones that we need to kind of address immediately. And also I'm just thinking about, we want to be efficient in our practices. Well, you want to be efficient in your practices. And I think that those are some of the, not necessarily primary, but those are the change of use application standards and the permit procedures are some of the right out of the gate processes that people get to. And if those are easy, I'm just thinking about development here. If those are easy for people to access and get through, it'll kind of help like send them on the way to be successful in the development or change or whatever it's happening. So That's why I'm picking those. And I wish I had a fourth for street tree standards, just FYI. And it's not that I don't think housing standards are important, but I think that a lot of the housing standards stuff will be, not a lot of it, but I think we're going to be touching on some housing standard components when it comes to the housing. What was the other category that we're doing in the previous
Well,
slide?
the housing production strategy.
Housing production strategy.
You're
Yes.
absolutely right there.
I have a question about the crypto mining.
Mm.
Just because like I'm tempted to put one of my votes there, but I do wonder like how like beyond, somebody complaining that like fans are too loud, how would you even know?
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair. It's not, they could apply for a home business permit, but even then, that's a great point. Sometimes it's very hard to know what's going on. I
I think we have a nighttime noise ordinance, which I would assume that would cover that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Daytime unless it's really loud.
If you don't mind, I'm going to use the restroom really quick.
Sure, go ahead.
Just got tangled up on this.
I think I'll throw a vote to the ground floor retail update and then the permit procedures.
Thank you, Commissioner Portella. And it looks like we just have one more vote that needs to be cast. And we are
That's
all
me.
waiting
That's
with
me. Sorry.
anticipation
I
and
know.
awe.
I know you're waiting. So, yep. Absolutely. I would like to do the update change of use application standards, please.
All right.
I know you're waited there just to make sure we were all holding our breath, but that's what I would like.
Well, you know what? You okay, wait, you guys or
I mean,
commissioners. There is a tie for every just kidding. No, we're not. Okay, so it looks like we have our totals. Should I wait till Chair Cornett
Sure.
comes back? Okay. But I'll do some math here real quick.
I'm just so happy that you're so excited about this.
I love to have group activities and
Oh, I
goal
can tell.
setting. It's my favorite thing.
I can tell.
Nothing like forcing participation.
I can tell you love it too. This is called a snowfield exercise, and it's a real meeting game that I've played before. So thank you guys for indulging me, truly.
Okay, thank you.
All right. The results are in, commissioners.
Okay.
The tie or the first group, I guess the most high ranked code amendments would be the housing standards, totaling to 4. Followed by the permit procedures and the ground floor retail updates in the commercial zones with 3 votes. And then followed by, well, actually, that's the top 3. There you go. So they are ranked, and I very much appreciate everyone's participation in this.
And I feel like you're welcome. And yeah, thanks everyone. And I feel like there's probably some things that could be smushed into housing standards, like street tree standards could easily be a part of that, because we're talking about residential zones, I'm sure, or everywhere, but residential zones as well. Maybe crypto mining operation standards falls into housing standards as well. Do we allow that in residential zones? And And then, yeah, update,
And you
change
can-
of use.
and you
Yeah.
can- And you can say as well for driveway, right?
You could say as well for driveway standards. So yeah, it's nice to have a focus, but yeah, clearly the top three: housing standards, permit procedures, and ground floor retail updates in the commercial zones. It's great.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna save this in the notes here and we'll have a copy of it in the minutes as well. And staff will reference this as we go through our code amendments. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
You bet. Is that it for the discussion item?
That is from me.
Okay. Are there any staff comments, project updates, or commissioner comments, questions? Sorry, yeah, yeah.
No comments from staff this evening.
Okay, any commissioner comments or anything? All right, quick and easy. All right, well, meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and Happy New Year, and see you all soon.
Good night.
Cool.